Okay, we're going to finish up with the sleep disorders by talking about night terrors. Night terrors typically happen to children. They'll wake up in the middle of the night. They'll be very incoherent. They'll have really fast heart rate, breathing rates. They usually appear just completely terrified. They may be screaming, crying. They're totally freaked out. They typically don't completely wake up during this time, and they don't normally remember anything about why they're crying. And usually the next morning, they won't remember any of it. They won't necessarily even remember that they woke up crying at all. It happens during stage 4, which is really different, which kind of distinguishes it from nightmares. Happens during stage 4, not during the REM cycle, so that's why they might be moving around or kicking or screaming while they're sleeping. And it kind of explains even more why they don't remember it. It usually happens at the beginning of the night when they've first fallen asleep, within those first few hours, those first few cycles, when stage 4 is even longer. And a big reason why it doesn't continue when you become an adult is because of stage 4 part of your sleep cycle decreases and it becomes smaller. So that's the same thing kind of goes with sleepwalking and sleep talking. It's more common in children than adults. It again happens during that stage 4, that really deep sleep time, and as you grow older, you're less likely to do that. Sleepwalking isn't necessarily dangerous, and you won't remember doing it the next day. So, all right, let's talk about dreams. So, Loftus and Ketchum made a really great quote when they said that REM dreams are actually hallucinations of the sleeping mind. It's a really great way to describe what they're like. They're usually very vivid, emotional, bizarre dreams. You're most likely able to remember your dreams if you're woken up during that REM cycle or within 3 minutes of it ending. Then people are more likely to be able to really give you an account of what happened in their dream and what was really going on. About the really crazy thing about REM dreams is that they're so vivid that people often forget or are confused whether or not they really happened, whether it's a memory or was it a dream. And that can kind of confuse people. A lot of our dreams, 80% of our dreams are marked with at least one negative event. Either they're attacked, they're pursued, they're rejected in some way. And that's really unfortunate. Sexual imagery actually occurs less than what people want to believe. Only in a study that's been done, only one dream in every 10 among young men and 1 in every 30 among young women had some kind of sexual overtone in it. So it's a lot less than what our pulp culture, I guess you'd want to say, wants to believe. So Sigmund Freud called most of our dreams some type of storyline, which is called the manifest content. And that's when we incorporate basically what happened during our day, non-sexual experiences, and our preoccupations during that day come out and play a role in our dreams that night. So, for example, when 9/11 happened, a lot of people dreamt that night or for a while after that because that was on people's minds. They dreamt about something falling on them, or they had some kind of nightmare, or someone that they loved they were afraid they were losing. Somehow it was connected to that event that was replaying in their mind during the day. Another example is people in hunter-gatherer societies often dream of animals. Urban Japanese rarely do. So because that's an everyday part of their lives, they're more likely to dream about it than others who don't really think about that during the day. So it makes sense. Another thing that I think is really interesting is that however we're sleeping or an environment can play a role in what we dream about. So if there's like a certain odor in the air or a certain noise outside like going on that we can hear while we're sleeping, it can impact our sleep. So maybe if the phone's ringing, in your dream you may hear a phone ringing, or maybe a doorbell ringing, or maybe somebody's ringing a bell, but somehow it could play a role in your dream. They actually did a study where people were sleeping and they lightly sprayed their face with cold water, not enough to wake them up, but enough for them to feel it. And they had an overwhelming response to it in their dreams, where compared to those that didn't have water sprayed in their face, they dreamt more about waterfalls, leaky roofs, even being sprayed by water. And so you can tell, or that showed us that our environment while we sleep can play a role in how we dream. Now, some people might say, well, can we use that then to learn? So can I play this video while I sleep and not have to watch it during the day? No, that doesn't work. Although we can do some classical conditioning, which we haven't talked about yet, where you could shock somebody while they're sleeping, while playing a certain noise. They may respond to that the next day and not know why, maybe jump whenever they hear that noise. They won't be able to recall that noise and the shock going together. So if you were to ask them questions, you're not going to be able to recall the answers to them just because you listened to the video while you're sleeping. That kind of higher order thinking just doesn't occur while we're sleeping, unfortunately. Okay, why do we dream? That is the next most important thing. There are 5 basic theories on why we dream. The first one is to satisfy our own wishes, which Freud actually called the wish fulfillment theory. The idea behind this is that we have our manifest content, our kind of our storyline of our dreams, and then we have the latent content of our dreams. What Freud believed is that we had our manifest content, and throughout the storyline of our dream, there's hidden symbols, and these symbols represent these inappropriate thoughts or needs or wishes that we have that we don't feel safe to actually act out. And so dreaming gives us an opportunity to actually do that. For example, you might have a dream where you pull out a gun on someone. Freud would say that that gun, pulling it out on somebody, actually represents an urge or a need to hurt or kill someone. That one's a pretty direct symbolism or symbolic representation. But it could also, the gun could represent something sexual as well, as you want to be aggressive sexually towards that person because you're attracted to them in some way. So the problem with Freud's theory is that you could change the symbolism in a story to mean anything that you want. And so there's a lot of room for interpretation or manipulation of your dream to fit an agenda or just to look like something that it's not. The next theory is called information processing. The idea behind this theory is that we use dreams to shift, sort, and fix the day's experiences in our memory. So different things that we've learned throughout the day, whether it's schoolwork kind of things or even just things we've learned about our friends or the people we work with. When we dream, we're sorting through these memories and filing away what we need to know and what we don't need to know. And they've done lots of studies with this where they've had people, they've taught people information and then they've had them go to sleep. And then they hook them up to an EEG so they know exactly what cycle of sleep they're on or what stage of sleep they're on. And they would wake them up repetitively during each of the stages. And they found that those that were woken up during REM sleep every time remembered significantly less than the other participants that were woken up during any other stage of sleep. So it again reinforced the idea that that REM sleep time is really important for remembering things. Now there's obviously critics to this theory as well, and they're not necessarily persuaded by these studies. However, they are in agreement that a night of sleep helps us with our memory, and they've also come to agree and acknowledge that, especially students who have a problem with what they call sleep bulimia, they'll go through the week with really depriving themselves of sleep, and then they'll sleep binge on the weekends, that sleep deprivation during the week significantly hurts their memory or their ability to learn during the week, even if they catch up over the weekend. So they've also done studies and they've compared students with high GPAs versus low GPAs and found that there's a significant difference in the amount of sleep that those with high GPAs have versus those with low GPAs. All right, the next dream theory is a physiological function theory. And this is just the idea that our brain is stimulated from REM sleep and it may help develop and preserve our neural pathways. So psychologists believe that during the REM sleep, we're actually stimulating experiences are being remembered and actually stimulating our brain and really improving and developing and preserving those neural pathways that we have. The one problem or critical consideration that we need to think about is why do we have such meaningful dreams then, if this is the only reason for dreams? The next idea or the next dream theory is activation synthesis. And this the idea behind active synthesis dream theories is that it makes sense of our neural static. So what happens is people believe that when we dream, we have a whole eruption of neural activity that spreads upward from our brainstem. Although this activity is random, our dreams are our attempt for our brain to kind of make sense of the whole idea of what's going on. They've done PET scans of sleeping people, and they've found that there is an increased activity in the emotion-related limbic system, which is our amygdala during this REM sleep. But they've also found that our frontal lobe is actually idle. It's actually not really doing a whole lot, which is why there's not a lot of inhibition and a lot of logical thinking going on during our dreams. We know to run, but we don't, that kind of thing. And then you add our low amount of inhibition from our frontal lobe and our high amount of emotions from our limbic system, and that explains why our dreams are so vivid and exciting during that time. The final dream theory is cognitive development. And this is the idea that our dream content reflects our dreamers' cognitive development, their knowledge and their understanding. Scientists or psychologists believe that during this time, our dreams kind of grow and change as we grow and change. So that's why children dream more like a slideshow. And adults' dreams are much more vivid, and they believe they're more like an actor inside of a movie. And that's why their dreams are so different. All right, so although all these dream psychologists and scientists and researchers disagree on which theory is correct, the one thing they can agree on is that we need REM sleep. When we're deprived of REM sleep for a long period of time, we literally sleep like babies, which means that we go immediately or really quickly into REM sleep and will stay there for a long period of time. We know babies have a longer period of REM sleep than adults. So, and that's called REM rebounding. So it's the tendency for REM sleep to increase following REM sleep deprivation. So that shows or proves how important REM sleep is. And finally, it's important to note that although we know there's physiological reasons for our dreams, there also are some psychological reasons too. That's why our dreams are not totally meaningless. It's important to note that although one doesn't negate the other, that they work hand in hand with each other. They're not competitors, but yet our psychology and our biology are actually partners. All right, so that's the end of dreams. See you tomorrow.